This episode is brought to you by HighSpots.com. HighSpots.com is the leading provider of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts merchandise. From wrestling boots to wrestling DVDs, wrestling action figures to title belts, HighSpots.com has the largest selection of wrestling merchandise. Go there right now with our link, tinyurl.com/STS HighSpots. STSHIGHSPOTS. Shop there with that link. It won't cost you any extra, but it will help support this podcast.
Have you listened to episode 98? That's right. Listen to episode 98. It's a Cool Kids Countdown 2018 Draft Day. Here's a clip. Listen. Download. Now.
Get out of her. I think they're pretty much stuck with her as a face right now. But I would love to see her stay in this character and stay this type of performer for many years to come. Great persona, obviously, great merch seller, very good in the ring. But again, I think that she's probably right around 30-ish or so. So I don't know how many more years she's got in the ring. I hope she doesn't go out like Undertaker, like at 54 or whatever the case may be. But Rosemary, just once again, a really solid pick for you, my friend, at number 7. So with the 8th pick of the draft, I'm going with my babyface female. And I think I'm actually going to go out on a limb on this one a little bit. I'm picking Kairi Sane. I think 100% of Kairi Sane's possible success and long-term success in the business is going to be her learning English. I have no idea what her level is on being able to speak English at this point. Her in-ring is obviously there. Her look is there. The pirate thing is kind of I don't know. But, I mean, if they stick with it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that'll work or if they're going to have to change it up. But I think she has that Rey Mysterio appeal that I think she appeals to everybody. She's
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
Hey everyone, it's a special edition of Shootin The Shiznit. That's right, it's episode 102. We're going to get our business out of the way here, and then we'll get to the show. I'm at Comic Book Mark BT on Twitter, and at BT Shootin The Shiznit there on Instagram. www.stspod.club. You can listen to all the episodes. Also, Shootin The Shiznit on Facebook. All the new episodes are posted there. Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk Facebook group. Hey, ask to be in there. That's where we do all our wrestling discussion. And if we don't like you, we'll just kick you out. I mean, that's what happens. A big shout out and a special thank you to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets, LocalsToLegends.com, Gene Jackson, and Sean Garmer over at W2Mnet.com. That's right, guys. We thank you for plugging that. We also want everyone to know about our new t-shirt site. It's WeHaveMerch.com. And also, we got new sizes. All the way up to 6XL. Regular sizes start at only $12.99, guys. I try to get those as cheap as possible so you can order as many as you want. Order 100 if you want to. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, SoundCloud, Pod Paradise, Spreaker, a little bit of everything there. And I also want, a big shout out to my podcast bros, Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast. Now, that's not a wrestling podcast. We got P3 Radio. They do wrestling, a little bit of everything else. I want to shout out to my old buddy, Dutch Mantell over at Down and Dirty with Dutch Mantell. And also let you guys know, Keeping It 100 Patreon site is only $1. That's right. My good buddy there, JoJo, the producer, he does all kinds of work over there, and you guys should check that out. If we're only $1, you get lots and lots and lots of extra material there. All right, guys, are you ready to get on with the show?
And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids.
Hey, I'm going to bring my co-host for Cool Kids Countdown. Lance, how the hell are you?
I am doing so good, my friend, right here from the Bisquick Studios. We're getting some soundproofing done tonight so that you don't hear my dog barking. So if you hear any construction, you'll know what that is. So,
Bisquick. Now tell us about
Bisquick.
before we get into what we're going to do, let's talk about the Tournament of Junk.
The Taj is chugging along. I knew you were going to ask, so I was ready for it. So we are now in the midst of the Edible 8. It's underway. You can vote on Twitter. You can vote on Facebook. You can vote via email at landlevy7@AOL. So we got the finals of each of the regions is underway. So we got Dollar Store Pastries, Sandwiches, Cookie Puss, and Crackers and Rednecks regions are all coming into their finals starting this week. $50 prize to one random voter. So you got to vote. If you want $50 worth of junk food, you got to vote. Make your voice heard. So it is underway. We're chugging along to some really interesting battles at the end here. So it's a lot of fun.
Right on. And you said you think you're getting this is a record number of votes, huh?
We've done up to, I think there was one of the earlier rounds we had around 500 votes, which is about as high as we've ever gotten in years past. And then the average is somewhere between like 350 to 375 on a daily basis. So when we get the retweets there's a couple local radio people that have retweeted it. And so the days when they're able to retweet it or they at least do it, that's when we get the better turnout. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So it is Taj 9, and it's going to be a champion will be crowned on next Tuesday night. So stay tuned, fans.
Awesome. All right, let's we're going to do something. We usually don't do something like this, except our first show was actually about WrestleMania, and we did the 10-10-10. And I think is it going to be our next show, the next Cool Kids Countdown will also be our kind of like our anniversary, and we're going to also do WrestleMania. But we're going to do what'd you call this one? So 10 matches of New Japan.
Based on what you just said, we could call it 999 because there were 9 matches. So we're going to recap Strong Style Evolved from this past Sunday. So we're going to recap the New Japan show from LA. So when we were thinking about, we wanted to recap it anyway. But when I was thinking about it, there were 9 matches. So I'm like, well, we always do a top 10. So we got 9 matches. So it's kind of built in that we can adapt to this. So, my first thought before we get into our 10 is I thought it was a good show overall, and I thought nothing sucked. And, the funny thing is that's what we normally say about WWE pay-per-views. So in this case, again, I say it was the same verbiage to describe this show. I think it was a good, solid show, and nothing about it really sucked. So that was my main takeaway from the show overall.
I felt the same way as you did there. I actually was pretty fired up the whole day. Got access free for 7 days just to see if I could watch that show. And then after watching the show, I was like, man, there was one really, really good match, which we're going to talk about that. But I felt like it was, on a scale of 1 to 10, you see my ratings, but it came out to about a 6, which was, that's pretty much like an average WWE show. So nothing really sucked, but we had one great match, and it wasn't one of. If I was promoting New Japan, this is my second show. I think the first show was a lot better. I would have went out and done something a little different, but that's just me. I don't know anything, so.
I think that when they come to the States, as long as they don't come to the States that often, I mean, they're already announcing that they're going to do the date in the summertime at the Cow Palace, so they're already doing at least a second date in the States this year. I think that they'll still maintain their specialness in the sense that, I agree. I was fired up that day. I was super excited. I know a lot of the guys in the group were really excited about watching the show that night. So I think for a long time, they're not going to lose that specialness for a long time until they start coming to the States way more often. If they ever get to the point where they're coming in quarterly, then it'll start losing its specialness. But I think they'll still, for years, I think as long as they come once or twice a year, I think they'll still maintain that special feeling, despite the fact that this was somewhat of an average show for them, basically. So we want to get to the 10?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so at number 10, since we don't have 10 matches, at number 10 we just did our individual biggest takeaway from the show. So what was your biggest takeaway from the show overall?
We talked about this before we went on the air, and I talked about it in the Cool Kids Facebook group there. I am not a fan and was not a fan, on the show Sunday night. everyone talks about the great camera work of New Japan, and they missed all kinds of spots. I was saying, I mean, I could have directed the damn show with one eye closed. I mean, I was saying, go to the finish, or go back to the match. There was, who was filming it, there was a lot of stuff going on, and it seemed like every time there was more than one thing going on, it screwed up the camera. Now, in the main event, I guess because I liked it so much, I really didn't notice it as much. But it's stuff like that. I don't want to notice it. And when I start noticing, like everyone bitches about the WWE camera work, it flicks here, clicks there, goes there. I don't notice that a lot. But when I start noticing not seeing one of the big moves or something like that, it just kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, I think that wasn't my takeaway. I'll get to that in a second. But to answer your point, I think it felt like they were filming it like from way too close or something. Like they seemed to be like shooting it like right at ringside, and they were just way too close. They didn't have enough like far away cameras or hard cameras from far away or something. So it did seem like, yeah, there were quite a few spots. At least the first half of the show seemed like a lot of stuff that they missed. So anyway, my big takeaway outside of the matches themselves revolves around shapes. So shape.
Okay.
So the second coolest shape of the show was the fact that the building looked so cool. That pyramid shape of the building. When they showed the outside shot of that building, it looked so cool to me to be that those wrestling fans are seeing a New Japan show in a pyramid. So, and then when you're inside the building, it didn't look any different. You know, it looked like a regular arena. So I just thought it was super cool that the building looked like a pyramid. And that leaves the first most impressive shape of the show, and that, of course, would be Brandy Rhodes. So Brandy Rhodes, besides the fact that she's just absolutely stunning, we've made that very clear on this show, just her comfort at ringside, her skill and her comfort at ringside just continues to impress me. And I mean, obviously I can't factor out the fact that I think she's a complete knockout, but I think that she has become such a great act, and she's so comfortable at ringside doing the shit that she's doing. You know, is she ever going to be Bobby Heenan or Jim Cornette? No, but she's a hell of a lot nicer to look at than those two guys. So my big takeaway was shapes, namely Brandy Rhodes. So at number 9.
Hey, hold on just a minute. I want to make a comment about Brandy Rhodes. The wife was watching some of this with me, and it was just awesome. You're sitting there listening to her, and she says, "Damn, look at that dress." And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm thinking she's just talking about the clothing, you know. She goes, "She's hot. Damn,
Yep.
She's hot." And so
got
I
women
had to
saying
say
somebody's hot. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and then I said, and that Cody, he's cute too. He's
Yeah,
got pretty eyes. So,
yeah, you got to
know.
balance it out. So,
All
all
right,
so
number 9. Let's get it on.
So
here.
we graded our matches. We did the normal thing. We compared our grades. We averaged them out. And so at number 9, our lowest ranking match of the night was David Finlay and Juice Robinson beating Gedo and Goto at 2 1/8 stars.
I knew he was going to do that. He was going to tell us how many eighths of a star that is. That's just ridiculous.
There's some weird scores because we had to
I
average
love
out
it.
2
I
people,
love it.
but it makes sense.
You know, Finlay, I like Finlay. He reminds me too much of Trevor Lee right now because they both look the same. They could be a tag team. But I think Finlay's really good after what happened in the match. They look like they're going to give him a push finally. He hasn't, went out of the New Japan, and I think that's the reason they weren't pushing him. He just hasn't made his trip to Mexico or whatever. I'm a Juice fan. I don't know if I'm really like this new gimmick, flamboyant Juice Robinson. I'm really not sure what they're doing. It kind of reminded me of I know we made a comment that are they doing a gay gimmick with him, but it actually reminded me of flamboyant Eric Embry, just with the hat and what he was wearing, like a 1980s wrestler, either that or Austin Idol. I mean, that's what the feel I got, not really the gayness. But I'm a fan of both of those guys, and have fun. Goto, you know me, I don't like Goto. And Ghetto's from the ghetto. I want you to know that because you asked about that. I found out. But yeah, this was one of those throwaway matches. But nothing was wrong in it. I mean, there was really nothing wrong with the match. It was just just putting some talent out there and letting them work.
Well, I think for me, somebody somewhere behind the scenes was asking themselves, how can we make Juice even more annoying to Lance? And it was his new gear. We'll give him Brutus the Barber Beefcake gear, and so that'll make him even more annoying. When the ass tattoo and the belt on his trunks and the dreadlocks and the weird shaped body aren't annoying enough, now you've got the Brutus the Barber beefcake trunks on Juice. So I actually thought the one person that I thought of that you didn't mention that he reminded me of was when Austin Aries was playing a character called the Austin Star in TNA. It was very similar to that with that funky, weird Steve Martin 70s hat and shit. So, like you said, the match was okay, nothing wrong with it. But what's the deal with teaming Ghetto and Goto? That was like just cruel punishment for like dyslexic reporters. You know, it's like basically the same letters just rearranged a little bit, and we're going to put these guys as a team. So the one thing that just is irritating is whenever Ghetto is on a team, it's like instantly predictable what the finish is going to be, that he's basically doing the job. So, like you said, not a terrible match, just kind of there. Finish was a stunner on Ghetto for the win, and Finley and Robinson take the win. So, at number 8 was Lance Archer, Davey Boy Smith beating Yano and Chucky T at 2.25 stars.
Yeah, I mean, this match was what you knew it was going to be, but I mean, yeah, I got into all the comedy part. My wife liked it, but here's what you know, Chucky is going to get killed in this match, and you know it, and that's all he did was sell. Smith, I really thought Smith looked the best I've seen him. I mean, last couple of times I've seen him, the body looks good. You know, everything looks good. He was missing something. I don't know if he's got all of it, but he's the kind of guy that I would, you know, put in the WWE and push against Cena or somebody like that. And he has a history with the WWE, with his family history, but you know, never has been able to impress me. Archer's just a big ass dude that does a lot of fun stuff, and those two guys, I like watching them kill people, but when they have to do an actual match, they're not as good as you want them to be. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those matches where they just wanted to, you know, just put some talent in there and go against each other.
Yeah, I would say Archer has been around forever, but what I really enjoy about him now is that he really seems to have found his niche as this Bruiser Brody type wild man when he comes out, you know, throwing the water at the fans and throwing entire water bottles at the audience and stuff. I think that it's good for him, you know, because he was in WWF, he was in TNA, floundering. Nobody ever really did much with him, but it's really good to see him developing into something of a character where he seems to have really found his niche. I thought the match was good when Taylor was in. Like you said, he was doing nothing but selling most of the time, but when Taylor was in, good match, good wrestling, and then the typical Yano bullshit. But the thing was, the crowd was massively into it. That was like some of the biggest pops and the biggest reactions of the night was for Yano. And again, I think that kind of goes back to that they're only coming to the States here and there, once in a while, once a year, and they love Yano as a cult figure. So for whatever reason, that's going to be like the Harlem Globetrotters getting a reaction when they come into town. So finish was Taylor pinned with a killer bomb. And it's funny, we didn't set this up, but you mentioned Davey Boy possibly going or jumping over. But I think this team is starting to gel, and they're becoming an entertaining act. And I have it in my notes here. Stay put. Do not go to WWE, because I think they would totally misuse them. They would blow them up. You know, they would screw it up like they have with Gallows and Anderson. They haven't really done much with the Bullet Club. So for me, let them stay there and keep getting better, because I'm enjoying the act the way it is right now. At number 7,
hey, before we go, let me you said something about Archer, and you know, he's worked with a lot of my friends in the business. Always gets, you know, big thumbs up from everybody. Just a team player, and no matter who he's working, what he's doing. So that's, you know, I'm kind of a fan of people that do that, especially when you're wrestling with my friends and you're nice to them. But, you know, just had a really good I heard no bad thing about this guy, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think at one point he was named Lance, I think, in the WWF. So, I mean, I got to vote for him for that, too. So, at number 7, we had the 3-way or 6-man matches of Roppongi 3K beating SoCal Uncensored, and we gave that 2 3/4, our opening match of the card.
Right. It was the opening match. It was fun. I was excited about seeing I think all 6 of these guys are fun. Show and Yo and Ro. So I'm going to start calling him Ro instead of Rocky. Show, Yo, and Ro. And damn, I can't get all that straight. But, man, Show and Yo are going to be – they're good now. They're really good now. But these guys, if they stick together as a tag team, are going to be so good. And there's always that possibility, they get a little bit older, gain a little bit more weight, and they could be one of them could be the superstar of the duo there. Rocky Romero's always fun. He didn't do a lot in this match except for those clothesline spots in the corner and all that stuff he does. And I don't know if we heard, but Kazarian looked like he fucked up and we thought he hurt himself, but I haven't heard anything.
No, I haven't heard anything either. I struggle with Sho and Yo, to be honest with you, and I know I'm gonna hear racist in the background, but I struggle with Sho and Yo because they're the same guy. It's the same guy to me. There's just such a sameness about them.
Racist.
And I know I knew it. The gear is a little bit different. Their hair is a little bit different, but otherwise, I can't tell those guys apart. So they need different names to start. And also, they're like fucking watching NSYNC. It's like watching the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. That's the characters that they're playing right now. So I am struggling with Sho and Yo. So I like Rocky Romero in doses, but I struggle with them. But like you said, good match, good opener, good fast paced. The weird Kaz thing was, he went up on the ropes for like a spot, and it looked like he slipped off the ropes, and he was favoring his knee immediately. He was favoring his knee, tagged out immediately, and then the weird thing was he tagged right back in. So I'm like, all right, is he hurt? Is it a work? But it never played a role in the finish of the match or anything, and it never played a role in any part of the match later on. So it seemed like he really did get hurt because it was bothering him the rest of the way. But I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about it yet either. So it seemed like it was a shoot, but who knows? Because, like I said, it just didn't play a role in the finish of the match. I really dig Christopher Daniels keeping up with the young guys in that match. That was awesome. And then the finish was 3K with a 3K, which is essentially the 3D on Scorpio Sky for the pin. So Roppongi 3K goes over.
Yeah, that's a guy too. My wife's watching it, or the wife's watching it, and she's like, I've never seen that guy. Well, a lot of us, even like I told her, I watch a lot of wrestling, and I think I've seen, up until he came to ROH, I'd seen 2 or 3 matches with him. One
with
on
Scorpio Sky?
Yeah, from Wrestling from Hollywood or something like that. I went out of my way to watch a match, and it was just so good. But he is so solid, such a great worker.
Yeah.
And just, he needs to, he's with 2 of the best guys ever in the business, so they can't do anything but help him. So, all right, go ahead.
He was Harold in the skits with Kane and Daniel Bryan when they went to anger management. So there was like 2 or 3 episodes in a row of Raw where they were at the anger management classes, and he was Harold. So there's your little trivial fact for the day. So, all right, at number 6, we have Cody, who shall remain nameless, and Marty Scurll beating Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and we had that at 3 stars.
All right, good deal. I'm a big Cody fan, as I've said a few times on here, but I don't know. I guess I've just turned into a huge mark for Cody. He comes out with Brandy. I love the whole storyline that they've been doing with the Bullet Club. And after the show, we still don't know what the fuck's going on, and that's the fun part. And it's going to be building all the time for All In. In each one of these major shows that they do, there's going to be something that happens, especially with the Ring of Honor. I used to like I wanted to say the Samoan team, but we learn things. They're Tonga, they're not Samoan. But Loa is the no-sellingest motherfucker I have ever seen. I hate watching him sometimes. If you'll go back and watch the last Long Beach show, he wouldn't sell nothing. He would someone would do 2 moves on him and he would go down. And I was sitting there counting. I think he sold like 2 moves this whole match. And for some reason, I always like the other Tonga, not Samoan JoJo, a lot more. But I'm getting tired of him too. So it's just like I would rather see Cody and Marty against someone else. But Marty is a talent. He's very entertaining to me. I love the whole gimmick, when he comes out. And here's what I say. I say every time I see him come out with the headgear, one day they're going to do something and it's not going to be him underneath it. So I want to tell everyone that so that they know ahead of time that one day they're going to do something where it's not him underneath it. So
you heard it here first. Here first. Breaking news on CKC. So the funny thing is, now that you mention it, Tama Tonga during that match, it hit me that he carries himself exactly like Roman Reigns. You know, they carry themselves such a similar way. It must be, I know, it must be somewhat genetic by default or something. And then I always say that Tonga Loa he looks just like Big E. He's like a smaller version of Big E. So if you look at him facially, he looks like Big E. So you got the two Tongans who are channeling other guys in the match. So anyway, with this match, I just thought my cardinal rule of comedy in wrestling is it has to be funny. That's all I ask. It has to be funny. And there was so much good stuff in this match. There were so many good personalities coming out. It was an all-heel match. It reminded me of just a very good, very old-school heel match. And all the heels at various points demonstrated that they cannot be trusted, even among tag team partners when it came to Skrull and Cody. I just think I agree with you. Cody has become so good at driving up the heel heat with the audience. He's so good on the mic. He's so good as a character. But I'll tell you who needs to stay off the mic, and that's Loa. He could not do that promo when they were talking about not being on Team Cody or whatever it was, and he was just so stiff on the mic. So he needs to stay away from the mic. Let Cody handle all that shit, and Skrull for that matter. I thought the Tongans showed good fire when they got their comeback. Really fun match. Finish was Cody pinning Loa with Crossroads. So good match. And as a note, it was the first of our 3 matches in a row here that we have 3 stars for. So the tiebreaker was whichever one of us gave the highest score to the matches as we ranked them individually. So number 6, Cody and Skrull over Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa from the island of the Philippines. No, Samoa. No, Tonga. It's all the same shit. Whatever.
All right. It's always the same shit, and you can't tell the other guys apart. You're being racist tonight. All right,
Yeah.
Let's go to our sponsor. It's like this is a commercial, guys. That's what I mean. Commercial.
80s Tees is the leading online retailer of officially licensed t-shirts, specializing in retro movie, music, TV show, video games, comic book, and cartoon t-shirts. 80s Tees has you covered. They have everything from G.I. Joe, Seinfeld, and Back to the Future, as well as 152 different classic wrestling shirts. Plus, free shipping on all orders over $50. Visit them now at our link, tinyurl.com/STS80stees. That's tinyurl.com/STS80stees. Visiting them at our link will cost you nothing extra, but it will help support this podcast. Now, back to the show.
We gotta speed it up here. Jamie Ward's not going to come on, he said. And Jamie sent me this whole list of shit he wanted in the green room. God, man.
Was it all in capital letters? All in capital letters, too, I'm sure.
Yeah, prima donna. He's coming in tomorrow night. We're going to have him for Tuesday on Shootin The Shiznit, and he's coming in tomorrow night. I got all this. I mean, I think he was like a superstar or something. All this shit I got to put in the green room.
No green M&Ms.
All right, here we go. What's going on?
All right, number 5, and I'm going to say this the proper way. We had Los Ingobernables de Japón, who are Naito, Bushi, Sanada, Hiromu, beating Tanahashi, Taguchi, Dragon Lee, and Kushida, and we had that at 3 stars as well.
I'm glad you said that and not me.
Bushi.
The highlight of this was Takahashi in the ring with Dragon Lee. I mean, that's what I remember of the match. I loved everything when they're in the ring together. They make a point. The announcers did a good job, not overall that night, but they did a good job in actually telling us that they have a long-standing feud. It's one of those things where back in the day, you could always guarantee that there's going to be, 2 guys that, if one comes into territory, they're going to always feud against each other. It's just one of those things where as soon as they get in the ring, they just have a great chemistry. I loved it. Naito. I liked all the stuff that he was doing, and it just to me, here's the only thing about this match that bothers me is that I'm sitting there watching it thinking that it was a waste to put him in a tag match. Why not have him in a single match against, especially an 8-man tag team match and a single match against someone, Naito to me is still the star, and for some reason, it's he's got everyone beating him, and they're just not. They don't seem to be pushing him like they did, but they always do that. They'll cool someone down, and then all of a sudden we'll get another big push for them. So yeah, it was 3 stars kind of match. It's just there, a lot better than just a normal match, the first couple matches, but it wasn't out of sight kind of thing. Unless Lee and Takahashi was in the ring against each other.
Yeah, I mean, usually, we've gone on record. I'm not a fan at all of the New Japan 8-mans. Usually I feel like I can skip the first half of the show most of the time because of all the 8-man matches that they do. But at least this was the only one on the card, so I can live with that. So they didn't overdo it, and it was the only one. It was in the middle of the show. They didn't overdo it with the 8-man matches. But I'll tell you, you hit it on the head. Anytime you get Takahashi and Dragon Lee in the ring together, it reminds you of why we watch this stuff. Because that is exactly why we got hooked on wrestling in the first place, and that brings us back to that, and why we enjoy watching it as an art form so much is when those two guys are together. It amazes me when I think about, the one guy is Mexican, the one guy is Japanese, and I thought to myself, like, I wonder if either one of them speaks either A, the other one's language, or B, English. I don't know if they can. How well can those guys possibly communicate? And that, I'm not even saying it like in a racist way. I'm really honestly curious as to
I understand what
how do they communicate in the ring. They're so smooth and they're so perfect. Anytime you see them together, they just don't miss a beat. So I'll say one thing about the match that drove me nuts was the running into the corner spot. Made me realize in New Japan, that is the New Japan version of the shoulder tackle into the turnbuckles in WWE right now, because there's so many different guys that are doing the silly running into the corner from corner to corner. And, in this match, it was Taguchi with his ass into the corner. So I swear, I feel like in 3 or 4 different matches on this card, there was the running into the corner spot that War Machine made big in New Japan a couple years ago. So, and the other thing was the Paradise Lock. I just can't stand the Paradise Lock. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And why does a drop kick to the ass the only way that anybody breaks the Paradise Lock? So anyway, I just think that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It is stupid, but that's what that's what we like about wrestling too. It's not believable, but it's fun.
Right.
I love, it is stupid, but like you said, here's one of the things that I talked about while watching the show was the old drop kick, doing the double drop kick, and you hit the opponent, then it's good. But if you miss the double drop kick and you hurt yourself. So I'm really not sure how that happens, but
the physics are very confusing on that. So anyway, Naito pins Taguchi, so at least amidst all kinds of chaos in the ring, so to speak, and at least the right guy did the job as Taguchi did the job. So that one we give to 3 stars as well. At number 4, actually our biggest difference of opinion on the card, and that's Zack Sabre Jr. and Suzuki over Ishii and Okada, and we have the average score as 3 stars here.
Where did you have this at on your
I had it at 3.5, and you had it at 2.5. So a full star difference in me in the positive light here.
You know why you had a full star more than I did? Yeah,
totally.
Because you like Zach and I don't. So that is all it is to it. To me, he's bland and he's boring, and I know he's over, and a lot of people like him, but just to me, and that's what we talked about in the group too. That's the reason we love professional wrestling. We can have so many different styles and decide, these guys. If you don't like them, then you don't have to watch them. And that's the way I am with him. He doesn't do anything for me. I think I've said this on the show before, but I've only seen him in like 2 or 3 matches that I actually liked. And they were tag matches, and they were in Evolve, and they involved Chris Hero was in both of them. So it's almost like I love seeing those 2 guys go against each other, but I don't like seeing him in the ring with anyone else. Okada looked good as usual. Ishii, who they pronounce his name something else, Ishii, I think. I guess there's 2 pronunciation. I don't know. Suzuki, everyone say that I was talking to. I said something to the wife, and I said, "Yeah, he looks like an angry old man." And my wife said, "He looks like an angry old man could whip your ass." And then I looked him up in Wikipedia, and he's actually younger than me, so that made me feel really good. So.
So with me, you're off on a little bit. I don't love Zack Sabre. I think he's okay. And I'll say, your points about Zack Sabre, the fact that he's boring and bland, I think there's a lot of guys that are way more boring than Zack Sabre. I'm okay with him. I'm not a huge fan, but what I liked was the layout of this match. Whenever you get, and it, harkens back to the last match for me, when you get Ishii and Suzuki in the ring together, that is another pairing for me that I just go crazy for, because that is just seeing two badass motherfuckers just pounding on each other. And by the way, wrestling is fake. Just in case anybody forgets, wrestling is fake. Put those two guys in the ring and then remind me of that fact one more time. I love the combo of this match. I love the combo of the fact that there was technical wrestling as well as brawling. You got Okada and Sabre doing a lot of the technical stuff and some flying. Then you got Suzuki and Ishii doing the brawling and the just so many cringe-worthy spots where they were nailing each other with elbows and forearms. And I just cringed so many times I lost count. The one bit that I loved, and I'm glad you didn't mention it, was the part where I think Okada was distracting the ref. The ref was distracted, and you had Sabre and Suzuki both putting submission holds, really awful submission holds on Ishii, and just switching them up nonstop for almost a minute. They were just changing different submission holds, and they were just torturing Ishii while the ref was trying to pay attention to Okada on the other side of the ring. So I thought that part, that spot was just brilliant. And the other part that I loved, and this was so subtle too, Sabre is going towards the end of the match. Sabre's going to kick Ishii, and Ishii literally punches Sabre's foot from making contact with him. So I've never seen that before, a tough badass who's fighting back from getting kicked by another guy, and he literally punches Sabre's foot out of the air. So I thought that was brilliant. So anyway, match ends with ref stoppage on a submission on Ishii. It was Zack Sabre with his, whatever it's called, Vietnam crucifix or whatever the fuck it's called, napalm death or whatever it's called, on Ishii, and the ref just stopped it. So it was a really unique and creative finish in the sense that you didn't have Ishii tapped, you had the ref literally stop it.
I like that part of it, but Suzuki and Okada looked horrible at that part of the match. They were in the corner, and it looked like they were trying to dance rather than they were wrestling. I mean, Okada was on his head. I thought he was going to spin around and do some kind of break dance. They should have been They should have shit-canned them and put them outside, but they had not. So. Well,
next time you have criticism for Suzuki, I want to see you give it to him in person. So
I heard he's a really sweet guy. That's what I was told. So.
All right, at number 3, speaking of people who are like watching paint dry, we had Switchblade Jay White beating Hangman Page, and we had that at 3 1/3 stars.
3 1/3.2428. This match I was looking forward to. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. But Jay White is just, as a young boy, he was somebody I like to watch. While he was in ROH, it was like he played that character where you wanted to see him get the big win. He was undefeated for a while, and then had a hell of a match with Ospreay, which I thought was one of those breakout matches. But then it's just this gimmick that he's doing right now is just not believable. I don't think anyone believes it. And it's just not over, and they put the belt on him, and I think the fans are just not digging it as much as I want to like him. I really do. The problem with this match, and I said this in Cool Kids, it was really, it was brutal at times, but they were doing stuff. I guess the best way to put it is out of order, in the sense they did something White did where he backflipped Page over the top rope, way out of place. It should have never happened in that spot. They were just doing spots at one time just to do something so it looked like they hurt somebody. This was one of those matches. You got two young guys, and I don't think there was somebody to lead the match. Or no one, got with them before they went out, agent-wise or friend or whatever, and said, okay, how are y'all doing this? Because they really lost the audience and lost us. I think it went about 8 to 10 minutes too long. If it would have wrapped up a lot quicker, more people would have liked it. But it was, they worked really hard, but we just really didn't get anything out. It's having sex and you're working really hard, but you don't get nothing out of it, You
had to go there, right? Jeez. Anyway, this was, speaking of this being, one of the few matches or one of the few cards in America, this was the first match that Red Shoes was the ref for, and the crowd went crazy for Red Shoes coming out too. So that was very noticeable. People were complaining about this match. Here it is. It's our third highest match rated on the card. So I think that says something. But people were complaining about it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match. The biggest issues were, for me, neither of these guys is a compelling character. Neither of these guys is doing anything. I think Page is starting to break out a little bit because his in-ring is getting so much better. But you're right. The Switchblade Jay White character is so flat and so nothing that just, you got these two guys who are neither one very compelling characters, and they're in the ring together. So I think that the crowd went into it maybe not as excited as they could have been because of that fact. And you're right, they went way too long. I said 10 minutes on my notes. I said they went 10 minutes too long. I thought it was a physical match, but it was a very, methodical, plotting kind of match. There was a little bit of flying here and there, but it was so physical. And I think the fact that it was so late in the card to do that kind of really long, methodical match, I think was bad placement. I think they possibly could have gotten away with it a little bit earlier on the card, but that late to being the next to last match on the card, I thought was a mistake. Page moonsaulting to the floor a couple times finally got the crowd into it. And then White retains with a clean finish on Hangman Page. And then Finlay running in at the end, like you said, I kind of like that just because it gives Finlay something to do. At this point, it gives him something to do. And he's a pretty likable guy, except like you said, he does look just like Trevor Lee for that matter. But overall, I thought it was a good match, but they could have easily raised the level of the match and the grades by going probably 10 minutes less. They could have easily cut 10 minutes out of it and had a much better performance.
I didn't even think about this, about what you said there, but the placement of the match and a little bit of less time. If it would have been sooner in the match, the crowd would have been a little bit hotter. They might have got a lot better response. And like I said, if you could go back and study that match, and I know the New Japan psychology isn't what it is, the WWE psychology or United States psychology, whatever you want to call it. But they waited too long to start going for near falls. I think they went so long in the match without a fall at all, if I can remember right. So it's one of those matches where it teeters, whether it could be really, really good to it could have been really, really bad to it just got. Yeah, okay. They worked hard, so we give it to them. All right, number 2. Come on, I'm going to shut up.
Number 2 was Will Ospreay over Jushin Thunder Liger, and we had that at a combined 3 2/3 points.
Hey, I just want to make this clear. I'm going to take up a little bit of my time here, so everyone knows. Will Ospreay and Rey Mysterio are not the same person.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Barnett told us that like 3 times.
I'm writing this down.
And also, I just want everyone to know this, and I got so fucking tired of hearing this, but it's sold out in 10 minutes. I just want you to know it sold out in 10 minutes.
You mean the pyramid? The pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid, yeah. Actually, I've been in a pyramid in Memphis. It's awesome. It's really neat. So, cool Liger against Ospreay, to me, I'm just like everyone else. I wanted to see Ray against Liger. I thought it was real classy, them bringing Ray out. I love the match. I mean, you can tell that, a guy like Ospreay is just, having such a great time going against Liger. Ospreay's came out of his shell a little bit when it comes to, doing things, a little bit more of a personality, and I can't decide whether I like him or not. I watched some stuff from the Australian matches that they did, and it was just goofy. And a couple of times in this match, it was almost like he was goofy, but just an excellent worker, works hard. Liger's still, we kidded around. He looks the same as he did when he first started, but he hasn't changed a bit. But he doesn't wrestle as fast as he used to, but he still is Liger. Did all his signature moves, and a really fun match. And I love the ending where Ospreay, even though it sounded like he was about to heave over and die, but challenging Ray. I mean, that right there, and they actually let Ray do one little bump there. I like that. That's what made me, it be the second favorite match on the card.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch. Like you said, it was great to see, and I'm sure we would have popped like crazy, obviously, if it was Ray and Liger, but we'll get that eventually. Eventually, they're going to set up for that, and eventually they'll get it, whether it's at Tokyo Dome or wherever. I'm sure we'll get that match. So people that were bitching and moaning about this match, that it wasn't as good as it could have been with Ray, or they were so psyched for Ray, we'll get it. Relax. This was a good match, a fun match. I'm blown away by how good Liger still is at his age. I think they said he's 53, I want to say, somewhere in that range. Just amazing that the guy can still do the types of stuff that he was doing in that match and keeping up with Ospreay. So, by the way, can you tell me, is Ospreay and Zack Sabre two different people? Because that's the one that I always screw up at for a while. So now I can finally tell them apart. I think I'm racist towards the British accent. So
that's it.
Blown away by how crisp everything Ospreay does is. Just everything he does is so crisp. And these guys just had such a great chemistry. And like you kind of referenced, I think these are the types of matches that are like a dream come true for a guy like Ospreay. So I'm sure he's probably been in the ring with Liger before, in probably, 27-man tags in New Japan or whatever. I don't know that they've probably had singles matches that I just don't know about. But you could tell Ospreay was just glowing to be in this match with Liger, in a singles match with Liger, so high on the card, on such a big important card in America. And like I said, eventually we'll get to the Ray and Liger thing. So they set it up, and it sure seemed like Ray was planning on staying there, so we'll see. And anyway, finish of the match is Will Ospreay winning with the Os Cutter. And now, for our number one match, it's no surprise, it's obvious, the Golden Lovers beating the Young Bucks. And we had that at a combined, we had 5 stars. It was the average score was 5 stars. So I think you gave it 10 stars and I gave it 0. So we gave it an an average was 5 stars.
Man, just an awesome match. And the thing that I said this on Twitter, but why can you not say the Young Bucks is the greatest tag team ever? I mean, just entertaining. There's so much to happen in a match. I'm not going to sit here and analyze the match, but always something going on that you didn't expect. I didn't expect I popped big for the table spot. I like the way they finish it, but don't finish the storyline. They keep it going at the end, and that's what's made all this so good, is that they got a hell of a storyline going on, and then you got guys like that. They're in the ring against each other. I wondered when he was in the ring out loud. I was like, what? I wonder what Kenny thinks now. He's like the top wrestler in the world. And now he's tagging, and he doesn't have to work as much. But then they go over 30 minutes and put on here he goes with another 5-star match. So, and this is a shout out to everyone that watches the Young Bucks and then gets on Twitter and then bitches and complains about it. Do me a favor. Don't even fucking watch them. If you don't like spots, don't watch the Young Bucks. Believe me, they're going to do a bunch of fucking spots. So, don't be stupid.
More breaking news.
We only got about 2 minutes left in time, so come on, Lance, tell us what you thought.
I love the Bucks because they carry themselves with that same gene of like Shawn Michaels and Kevin Owens of I know I'm better than everybody else. They carry themselves with that. Other thing I don't like about New Japan is too much spitting in New Japan. There's too much spitting in this match. They could do without that. So, like you said, so many great spots. I love the table draped over the rail forever. They almost forgot about it, and then they finally put Kenny through the table. Chemistry was just so good. And, we say that, it seems like we say that all the time about Omega matches. So I think Omega is the common thread on the chemistry thing with Okada and with these guys. Great soap opera storytelling, holding back, Omega holding back on the finisher, Matt finally telling him just do it. Finish is Golden Trigger pinning Matt, and the show of respect finish, like you said. Just so many different layers to the story, so many tentacles to the story. How's it going to go? Are the Elite going to reunite as the ultimate baby faces? How's it going to go? But just fascinating stuff and just a fantastic 5-star match.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to make note, we also got some kind of comment from Jim Ross about golden showers during that match. And then we had somebody in Cool Kids say that it sounded like a porno movie, The Young Bucks with the Golden Lovers, which it did. I never thought about that till then. But, yeah, he said something about golden showers. I hadn't even went back to listen to it. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to be here, same bat time, same bat channel, on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Thank you, Lance. Love my mom.
Love my niece.
Be
Love Tony.
there. You know what? This may have been the longest episode we ever had.
Excellent.
It's running out. You know, we got a 45-minute time limit. We're running